Prislinich keeps it alive. Oh, Crawford, the fancy footwork and a fabulous finish. JackJumpers chance. McVeigh, 2 on the clock. Oh! McVeigh! And have a look at what it means to Scott Roth. Bloody good. How good. These JackJumpers. They just never say die.
Welcome to the Tasmanian Takeover for another week. I reckon, what are we at? Episode 7. They've kept us around this long. My good co-host, JD, how are you, my man?
Great to have you back, Berto. How exciting.
Oh, mate, it is good to be back in the place where I feel the most comfortable. But yeah, we have been out and about. We've been on a couple of different shows as well. You'll see this head or hear this voice on Beyond the Buzzer for a couple of episodes. And yes, the last episode, an imposter was in my seat, but he did a pretty decent job. Jez took over my spot while I was gallivanting around Sydney. And yes, just in case anyone was wondering, I did manage to make it out of Kudos. I didn't have to do a John Wick and fight 17,000 strong while I had my back against the wall. Although the way Jez was talking me up, I actually started to believe I could do it myself.
You absolutely could have.
So
actually,
yes, you are.
Good to see, it was good to see you and Jez on the same podcast the other day, mate. I was starting to think that maybe you and him were the same person. I'd never seen you on the on the same podcast. You'd never been seen in the same room, like a bit like me and Batman. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. Well, I mean, look, I'm often telling my kids that I'm Batman. I mean, they didn't usually reply with "you fat man," but you know, whatever. As I said, have you ever seen me and Batman in the same room? Yeah. So, no, it was good. It was great to get over to the Beyond the Buzzer team, and you know, admittedly, the first episode I pretty much turned it into Takeover 2.0, but last week's episode, or this week's episode, depending on when you're listening to this, it was great to get in the hosting seat and just, look, I've got to give them a massive shout out. Josh and Jez do a fantastic job. They really know what they're talking about, and if there's any ever question that the Basketball Fix is not a series of fan podcasts for fans by fans, just listening to the passion they have and how much knowledge they have. I mean, listening to Josh rattling off stats left, right, and centre. And yeah, okay, one could say there's a lot of prep work that goes into it, but just the knowledge he pulls off the top of his head. And I have the run sheet open and I get to hear what notes they have written down versus what he's got to have somewhere else. And Jez is exactly the same too. It was fantastic. So I've gotten a real appreciation for the team behind your boys here. And I want to give a massive shout out. While I'm giving out shout outs to the Basketball Fix, do make sure you do head over to the Basketball Fix website, thebasketballfix.com, for all your NBL insights, the fan podcast, the write-ups. Our man JD's been doing a whole bunch of write-ups as well, opinion pieces and that, which usually are a great extension on from what you've heard on the podcast. And the various fan podcasts are just growing and going great guns. You can tell I'm a little rusty. The words are just not flowing as easy. But yes, we've just launched the Bullets what's that one? Bullets broadcast, isn't it?
The broadcast.
Yes, the Bullets broadcast, and great job there with Tracy, and Bodie was on there for the first episode, and they're having a great chat about all things Bullets, and I bet we share a lot in common at the moment with the number of injuries between the Bullets and the JackJumpers. I mean, we have often called the Bullets mini JackJumpers, but yeah, the injuries are certainly something we also share. And, you know, we've still got the other podcasts, you know, the slightly not so superior, maybe slightly inferior Hawks Hangout, the Wildcat Rap. They're okay. We'll give credit to the Breakers Breakdown. Those boys are doing a fantastic job. And very soon we'll have the King's Table back when SJ gets back on his feet. And SJ, we're thinking of you, man. It's great to see that you are on the mend, brother. So, what's been going on in your world, mate? It's been a little while since we've had a decent chat.
It is, and Tasmania are champions again. We are recording this on Tuesday, the day after the mighty Hobart Hurricanes won the Big Bash League. I've been watching the Big Bash for over a decade, waiting for the Hurricanes to get up. They've made it 3 times, and they went 1-2 yesterday, which is just awesome for Tassie. You can see we've gone purple in the background, and it's just Tasmania just continues to punch us above its weight in sports. Mitchell Owens yesterday, Kingston boy. I actually played cricket with his dad for a season. He hit the fastest 100 ever hit in the Big Bash. 39 balls. He was hitting 6s and 4s like for fun. It was almost like the Thunder were bowling underarm to him. He was just hitting them out of the ground, left, right, and center. And Nathan Ellis, we in the bowling innings, we didn't take a wicket until about halfway through. We were in some serious trouble. That the Thunder were on 100 halfway through the innings. Nathan Ellis comes in, takes 2 quick wickets, slows the Thunder down, and really kept us in it. What a game. What a team. Congratulations, Hobart Hurricanes. This is just massive for Hobart again. And we now hold the championship for the Big Bash League and the NBL in the same year. It's just phenomenal.
That is fantastic. And it really goes to show that, look, as a mainlander who moved down here, it is something that I think is really awesome to see just how much Tasmanians get behind their teams, get behind the island in general, and it is lovely to see that, you know, as much as I'm not a cricket fan, I'll be honest, hold it against me, whatever, you got to take your hat off to them. It's a fantastic achievement, and it's wonderful to see that the state, one way or another, gets behind them. I love that. That's fantastic. So well done, boys.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
All right, well, we got a little bit of Nest on Notice news, which is fantastic. The People's Mullet, Archie Woodhill, has been signed for another 2 years as a development player. And I'll tell you what, this excites me. And the reason why it excites me is because for most of the season, we hadn't really seen what he was capable of. And I got to be honest with you, it was maybe a little frustrating at times because we knew there were times when we could have done with an extra big body on the court. And maybe he wasn't ready yet, whatever the case may be. But since he's been getting some minutes, I think they've been really productive and successful minutes. He's really shown that, yeah, if this is what he is like as a development player, we could be onto something here. What do you reckon, JD?
Absolutely. These big boys take a little bit of time to develop. We know that. But he's shown a bit of presence. I was surprised to see he only got 5 points in the last game. I felt like he had more influence on the game than that, but he's sorely needed within the squad. He's a big lump of a lad. He's got a big flowing mullet that flaps in the breeze when he runs. It's glorious. and yeah, 2 more years is well deserved. Look, let's hope Mags teaches him everything he knows. And the next contract we're announcing is a roster spot for Big Archie.
Absolutely, and I think you're absolutely spot on there. If Mags can get him under the wing and really show him how to be as good as Magnay is, I think the league better watch out because, you know, Mags will have a finite date like any sports player. There is a time when you've got to slow down and start questioning, can you do what you used to do? And if we can get Archie up to a standard where, okay, if Mags does go down, needs a break, or even, heaven forbid, please, I don't want to talk injuries anymore, but we just have to. If he gets injured, great. There's Mags 2.0 on the court.
Absolutely. He needs a bit more bully about him, Archie. He needs to throw his weight around a little bit more. I think he's probably still finding that balance between being able to deck blokes legally and getting fouled. He seems to be getting fouled a bit, so Mags needs to get into his ear about how to give people a thump without attracting the attention of the refs.
Absolutely. The old shoulder and hip check without drawing attention. Hey,
That's
hey,
all we
no, no,
want
no,
from
look over
Archie.
there, look over there. It's all good. Nothing's going on over here. All right, I'm looking at the run sheet here, and you have an interesting point listed down here. Roth on scoring. What's all that about, mate?
Oh, I watched the press conference after the Southeast Melbourne game, and Scotty Roth was. You could tell he's proud of his boys, but he's out of options. He was saying stuff like, "We can't score at any kind of rate. The next 3 games may look like the last 3. All of our scorers are injured." He goes, "We can stop people, but we can't break 80 points at this stage." I really hope he hasn't given up, because I think the next couple of games present a couple of really good opportunities for the JackJumpers. But he made some really good points in the presser. Just that while we can stop teams, we just haven't got that next gear to put points on the board. To illustrate the point, Magnay, Deng, and McDonald average 43 points a game between them. That's what we've got sitting on the injury list. That's before the doctor, Drimmick, and Gack go and get some sort of tummy bug.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a concern. And look, one thing I do like about Roth is he is quite good at setting expectations. So, look, I am 100% behind the team. I'm proud of the boys, but I'm also a realist. And I think with the number of injuries, with just how hard everyone is having to play and play outside of their usual roles, it is going to be difficult. Now, we showed in the Kings game, we had them scared. And that was great. And yes, the Phoenix game, look, the Phoenix seem to be our kryptonite this year. Doesn't matter when we're playing them in the season, they've got our number. And yes, we'll talk about that game in a moment, as much as we have to. And it wasn't a great game, but we showed signs and we showed fight. And I think that was a key, that the season is not 100% loss, and we will go down fighting. And look, if we don't make it into the playoffs this season, so be it. So be it. I mean, winning a championship within 3 seasons is phenomenal. But I think what's more important here is, I don't know, to almost quote Rocky poorly, it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you get hit, get knocked down, and get back up again. Our boys, and I know I butchered that quote, so any Rocky fans out there, look, if it was my brother on the podcast, he'd have quoted that with the Sly Stallone voice and everything. Forgive me. But I think our boys will continue to show fight. And I think we also saw it in the Southeast Melbourne game. We had Drimmick out sick. We had Gack, who was sick and still took to the court. And then you had Milt, who came down on his ankle, and it looked horrible. And I don't think there was anyone watching that game in the arena or on TV who didn't have an oh shit moment.
Yeah.
And he still came back on the court. And you could tell he was tender as.
Yep.
That's the fight that makes me proud to be a JackJumper supporter. That is what shows me that this team, whether they are first on the ladder, 7th on the ladder, or 10th on the ladder, we're never giving up. And that to me is more important at this stage than going back to back or whatever else. And I'm sorry, I'm going to upset some people here, but if it's also upset your betting and your sports bets and whatever else, well, look, at the moment, if you're betting for the Jackies, you're probably setting yourself up to fail.
Yep.
But if there was a bet you could make for heart and dedication and fight, well, shit, they'd win hands down. So
that's an interesting point you made about the Kings being scared. I wonder if it had anything to do with the big bearded bloke in the crowd bellowing at him during the game.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I was sitting up there throwing the best stink eye I could, that's for sure. Actually, I do have to say it was quite funny because in the crowd, and hopefully they're listening because I got to speak to them afterwards. There was a family there, all decked down in the Jackies gear, just diagonal to where I was sitting, and at one stage there when Kings players were going for a free throw, they'd be sitting there, joke. And so I got involved in all of that because that was good fun. And,
Awesome.
we're having a G up and having a few laughs and whatnot. Then some older bloke, obviously a Kings fan, turned around, had a crack and asked us what tickets we had and if they were the correct tickets or not. It's like, settle down, old mate. It's all just a bit of fun. It wasn't like we were sitting there going on rowdy or whatever else. It's just a bit competitive. Notice that they didn't quietly, shut their mouths when a Jackies player was at the line, but, whatever. Calm it down. It's not quite like when I was there and got to make Jalen Adams miss, but, we'll revisit that another day. That's always a great memory to have. All right, so let's talk about the South East Melbourne game if we have to. So that was on the 25th of January. Final score, 116-80, Sem's way. Look, the blowout occurred, and, I mean, to me, the biggest thing was we actually showed in the first quarter, we showed some real fight, and what was really cool is we got some great minutes out of Stoddart and Woodhill. I mean, if there was one thing that was awesome to see was we got to give the young guys a bit of a run. And these guys came out. I mean, I see you've listed here in our show notes, Nick Stoddart with player of the game, 14 points. That's unreal from the young bloke.
Yeah.
I mean, he's firing away. We called him the Dart, and we're calling him the Dart for the reason. He's doing so well. Then what it seemed like was come the second quarter, South East Melbourne really turned up the aggression. And that was probably where we started to see cracks. Matt Hurt, forgive the pun, put a hurting on us. It's as simple as that. He was a real problem in the paint, and it was where we really showed that we could have done with someone like Mags, who isn't just a big body, but knows how to control the paint and deal with people like Hurt. The first half was a great dogfight, back and forward, real grit and grind in there. The third quarter was sloppy as. In my opinion, it was extremely sloppy, and the ball handling was bad. Now, I don't know whether it was fatigue, whether it was something environmental. I don't know. But it felt like watching a game of a little while back where I was convinced the boys were cleaning their hands with Vaseline. There was just a lot of loose balls, very sloppy. Some of the passing was, I don't know whether the communication was off or what, or whether it was that the usual configurations weren't there. But there were times when balls were being thrown for a pass, and it was like, oh shit, there's a ball here. What do I do? And look, I'm not ripping on the players in any way. This is just observations. I don't want anyone to think that I could run out on that court. I ain't running out on any court shooting balls or whatever else. But you could see there was a disconnect there. And the fourth, well, we won't even talk about the fourth because that's where the blowout occurred. I want to give a huge shout out to Gorjak Gak. GG had what I thought was a phenomenal game, given the fact that he was crook, and as we found it in the presser, hadn't even really practiced that week. So he must have been really, really under the weather.
He was playing like a man who was not about to shit his pants, right? And can we? It's not lost on me that we were wearing white shorts as well. So the bravery on GG to come out there and run up and down a court when they could have easily had things running down his legs, just amazing.
How'd you find out that was the problem? I thought, did they actually say that on the commentary or what?
No, I don't actually know. I don't actually know, but it's it was the funniest illness I could come up with. So I like to think if you're gonna miss a game of basketball, it's because you're about to shit yourself.
Fair enough. I'm gonna have to say it. Hummer at the free throw line is bad. It is bad. Now, I think he is starting to show his defensive prowess. It's coming through, but the problem is that the other teams are starting to realise that if they're going to foul anyone, foul Hummer, because you've got a pretty good chance you've just walked away from points.
Yep. 11 out of 19 free throws we hit, 56%, which is not enough percents for mine at the free throw line team-wide, but Hummer, I think, missed 4 of them.
And
he gave
it's
him
so
burgers
odd
twice.
because he can drop threes. He can drop threes.
Yeah, for fun.
But it seems to be just that line seems to put him off. So
yep.
I don't know what's going to happen next season, whether he will get re-signed or not. I'm sure I'm not sure. I know there's a lot of commentary around whether or not he should or shouldn't be re-signed. I'll leave that to the experts, the coaches, Roth. But what I will say is that is a weakness that has to be worked on. Now, to his credit, Magnay wasn't great at the line. I don't think he was ever this bad. And he worked on it in the off-season, and now he's come back, and at least it's at 50%, if not slightly higher.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Hummer work on that, because even just the way he sets himself up for it, it looks awkward.
Yeah.
He doesn't look comfortable in doing so. And maybe that's what's stuffing him up, because when you see him at the 3-point line, he's doing all right. He's going for it. He looks good. He looks comfortable. It almost looks like money. So I don't know.
Yep.
It's so weird.
It's odd, isn't it?
It is.
I had some odd observations for the game. We got beaten in every single stat except bench points, which is not great. We won the bench points by 5, which is again amazing. We win that every game pretty much. Yeah, that JC had 18 of them. He's really carrying the team at the moment. Just all of our percentages were down. We had the same amount of field goal attempts as Southeast Melbourne. They hit 44 out of 76. We hit 29 out of 76 at 38%. So again, accuracy just killing us. We haven't got, and I don't know if you heard me and Jez talked at length about the Shawnee Mack effect and how he's just the one that when our eyes out, he will step up and just dob that one to get our confidence back. So that's where we're really missing him. Injury and illness was a massive factor. Mags, and Macca all out, and the doctor and GG sick. So I think we just ran out of gas. That's why we saw that un-Jackies like blowout at the end. Again, we were dominated by big men with Matt Hurt scoring 29. In the last 3 games, we've had Menenga, Noy, and Hurt absolutely go to town on us. They've all basically scored 30, which is not good. One positive out of the game was we did manage to keep Sobey quiet. He did almost get a double-double. He had 9 points and 10 assists, but he was very quiet. I think that's because he was having hair troubles. Every time
I was waiting for it.
Every time the camera would go to him, he would be fixing his hair. So I think, look, we may need to get him some better hair product. And I know a little bit in this area. So Nathan, if you're listening, mate, Taft freeze jelly is what you want. This is the stuff. This is what you want. This stuff was developed by the American military. And is designed to withstand a nuclear blast. I guarantee Taft freeze jelly. If you dig me up out of my grave in 100 years, you'll see a skeleton with a perfect shell of hair. So Nathan, if that's what was putting you off about your game, mate, get on to some. You just get it in Woolies. It'll fix your game right up, mate. You won't have to worry about that hair again.
I just love that you came with props. Seriously. You came with props. The last episode we did together, you came with stats for days, and today you're coming with props. You're stepping
I'm a prop
your game
comic
up,
today. Absolutely.
I do have to ask you, do you reckon that's the same stuff that Majet used to use?
Yeah, 100%. This is what Majet would do. His was slicked back, and it was the wet look.
It was unreal.
The accountant,
honestly.
I used to call him.
Yeah, I mean, the way he had his hair, it almost came,
Yep.
he would come off looking as perfect as he went on.
This is the secret,
Beautiful.
you know. Concentrate on scoring points and not fixing your hair, Sobe. This is a tip from the Tassie Takeover. What else have I got here? The State Basketball Centre was a pretty cool venue, I thought. Did you like it?
Yeah. Look, I still sometimes think these smaller venues, you know, they're just. I mean, like with us, we've got the Silver Dome, and yep, it's great that we can play at different places around the state. This is not, having a crack at that, but it just. I don't think it has the same vibe as when you get to play in the big arenas. That being said, though, one thing I did notice was that it possibly came across on the broadcast a little bit louder in there than it would from, say, John Cain. So that was pretty cool. Maybe it is just coming down to size.
It felt like it was 50-50 Jackies to Phoenix supporters through the broadcast. It was excellent.
That is a very valid point. That is something. I tip my hat to the Jackie supporters who do make it across to Melbourne to represent the Ant Army. Well done. I mean, it is so good to see that when we go and take on either of the Melbourne teams, we do go out in force, which is fantastic. And believe you me, whenever I can, if I'm in Sydney and the Jackies are there, I will be there.
Yep. I will say, though, to the people at the State Basketball Centre in Melbourne, your rims need a paint. This is an Australia-wide competition. Just put a lick of paint on the rims for NBL games, guys. It's just a little thing I noticed was rusty rims.
You weren't watching the game. You were too busy looking at the rusty rim, you bugger.
I was. I might have picked something or two up when I was in the Navy about rusty rims.
Well, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot barge pole, but I'm sure you would. All right, moving right along, we'll get into the game predictions as we continue on with Ant Attack, and we've got a game coming up on Thursday, the 30th of January. Probably by the time you're listening to this, we'll either be preparing for or hopefully winning, hopefully celebrating or licking our wounds. Now, before I get into this one, I'd like to introduce a new segment.
Okay.
I'm going to introduce a new segment called Sook Watch, in dedication to our friends over at the Hawks Hangout who have Flog Watch. On this week's episode of Hawks Hangout, not only did they call out our Ian Hummer as a flog, they called out your boys as flogs. And then went on to some great big whinge and moan and groan. Or more importantly, Sammy did. Some big whinge and moan about how, we put shit on him and the Hawks and blah. I don't know. I tuned out. I kind of sat there and went, all I hear is blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Sook of the Week, Sammy from Hawks Hangout. What do you reckon, JD?
100%.
Have I got rights to do this?
Oh, 100%. And do you know what? I love it when the boys on the other podcasts call us out. I love all the free advertising we get from them just because we make a few jokes. So the jokes will keep coming.
And just in case anyone's worried, but I'm sitting there ripping on Sammy, and I won't because I'm over the internet. He's actually coming down here for the Illawarra game versus Jackie's on Thursday anyway. So we'll see.
It's good of Illawarra.
How big he is.
It's good of Illawarra to send 10% of their fan base down to watch. Actually,
they loaded a combi and got it on the Spirit of Taz. We love the boys from the Hawks Hangout. They're great value, and looking forward to catching up with Sammy anyway and having a beer, and hopefully what he's come all the way down here to have to go back licking his wounds. But we'll see 100%. How that goes. So let's talk about it. It is going to be at My State Bank, which is fantastic. So we do have the honorary six-man, if you will, being the fans in the thousands at My State Bank Arena, which does make the Nest quite the fortress. We have had the Illawarra Hawks have had a big loss to the Taipans, which is interesting because, we've got the bottom of the ladder annihilating the top of the ladder. So
Yeah.
is this indicative of Hawks who are complacent, or maybe just running out of gas, or what? We don't know. But we're also still got our injuries. We haven't quite heard if anyone's bailed up sick this week or whatever else. We haven't heard anything further about Milt's ankle. So what form are we going to be in?
Yep.
And I'm hoping that if we are at least 90% capacity, and I say 90% even though we are still with those injuries, we can capitalise on whatever's going on with the Hawks. So in my opinion, we could pull a win on this, but it is going to depend on, come game day, who's lacing up boots.
Yep.
What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, 100%. I watched the Taipans game, and the Taipans had their measure for the first half. Like, have a look at the score; it doesn't look too bad. It looks a bit. I think it was 8 points or something. But if you watch the first half, they got dominated by the bottom of the ladder Taipans. Cairns had time and space everywhere. There was no defense. There was no effort. They came back in the second half, but it was a really, really poor start by the Hawks. So we're hoping that that carries down across the trip over the Bass Strait. And that continues. Continue with the poor defense, guys, because we'll lap that up.
Absolutely.
Darius Days' hamstring, I think, is a factor. I think that's thrown their balance out a bit, and we've been struggling with the big boys, right? The big mobile guys, and Darius Days is their big mobile guy. So for him to do his hamstring a week before the JackJumpers, finally we've had a bit of luck, right? So if we can keep Froling quiet, there's no reason why this couldn't be a lot closer than perhaps some people are saying.
And there is probably the concern, Froling. What do we do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
With Froling, who seems to be really producing consistently.
Yep. Yeah. Look, if we can find a way to shut him down, if Fabs can play out of his skin, maybe a Fabs Hummer double, that's fun to say.
Again, there's another one I'm not touching.
Stretch Hummer. If we haven't given up hope, look, I think this is a real danger game for the Illawarra Hawks, and we could pull a surprise here if we haven't given up the season. The last thing I will say is it's good to see that Illawarra have got a jersey sponsor finally, MCR. So thank you, My Chemical Romance, for coming back out of the 2000s and sponsoring the Hawks. I don't know if you remember the 2000s emo bands. It's one of my favorites. So maybe that's why they've been down.
Swoop over the eyes.
100%. Maybe this is why the Illawarra Hawks have been playing like they're a bit depressed. Too much emo music on your jerseys, guys.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. You've obviously been sitting on that for a week.
That one just came to me, I promise.
Oh, geez. All right. We might make a comedian out of you yet.
Oh, you never know.
All right. Then we've got on the 1st of February, Melbourne United at John Cain. This one concerns me. I mean, if we look at it historically, we've gone loss, win, win. And the loss was over when we played at RAC as part of the, what was it, the
Hoops Fest. I actually went to that game. That was great.
Oh, did you?
I got courtside tickets for $40. Hoops Fest is the best. I'm really looking forward to that next year. Yeah, really good.
Jeez. I wonder if work can sit there and send me on a flight.
Yeah.
This one does worry me, mate. And I'll tell you why. Whilst we have beaten them 2 out of 3 games, and we have played them and beaten them at both home and John Cain, we are down on manpower. We know this. This is going to be our unfortunate catch cry throughout the end of the season. I think for us to even have a look in, this is going to be the game where we're going to have to see almost like Voltron combining and all the Lions coming together to bring Voltron together. We're going to need Milt and JC to be firing at the same time. Now, look, this is no slight on Milt or JC or they're playing. But what we know throughout the season is if one's on, the other's not necessarily firing. They might be doing other things on the court or with the team. We need both firing because you've got the firing power of Chris Goulding and Jack White at the moment, who their stats, I went through and had a look at the last few games. The box scores there, they're pulling massive numbers. I couldn't even be bothered writing them down. They're just massive numbers. Yep. CG is shooting numbers as crazy as, or almost as crazy as Bryce Cotton.
Right.
You know, I think he's sniffing for Bryce level numbers. Okay, he's not quite there yet, so settle down, Wildcats potential fans. You know, I'm not, you know, I'm not picking on the Messiah here, but what I am saying is it's like CG has got his eye in, and even when he's having an off game, it's probably better than most people's on game.
Yep.
So that concerns me. I'm calling a loss on this one. Unless that is the night when our powers combine and form Super JC Milt. That was a terrible name. You can come up with a better one. But if they can, I think that, and also with the firing power we're also getting from the likes of Nick, and hopefully Captain Clint can sit there and I don't know what, just whatever he used to do to be able to just pretty much just look at the ring and go, bang, it's in.
Yep.
Find that. If we can do that, I think we've got him on defense. I really do. Yes, we're going to have a bit of problem, a little bit of drama under the ring there, I think. But I think we can hold them off. It's going to be the firing because otherwise they're going to outshoot us.
One came to me, and you're going to hate me.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Milton Boyle because of Teapot.
I'll go home. We'll end this podcast now. You keep talking like that.
It's so bad. It's so bad. I'm so sorry.
That's terrible. If there's anyone
so
who'd
sorry,
like to
everyone.
submit complaints, please submit them to the Basketball Fix. I'm happy to look for a new co-host.
Look, I haven't got much to add to what you said. I think old Jellylegs Goulding is primed for a big one here. He's at his home court at My State Bank Arena. Oh no, it's in John Cain. Sorry, but he never usually gives us much trouble because he's an ex-Tasmanian Chris Goulding, and I think I've mentioned before that I feel like he needs to hand his passport back in, and shouldn't call himself a Tasmanian anymore. But he's the one. They've got the mobile tall forwards are the ones I look at in these reviews now because that's where we've really been struggling. They've got Rob Lowe, Chris Goulding, and Marcus Lee. Don't we miss Marcus Lee? Wouldn't we love him back in green again this year?
Yeah, look, with Marcus Lee, I think the biggest concern I see with him is he knows a lot of our defense plays.
Yeah. Yep.
So that in itself, if we're struggling in the paint, he's going to know some of what we're going to be looking to throw his way. So that's a concern.
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you reckon? Win or lose?
I just can't see how this one doesn't turn a bit ugly. To be honest, I think unless Majuk and Magnay find some magic jelly beans and magically heal overnight, I'm really worried about watching this game and what that might do to my ego. Because this could get ugly.
Yeah. Unfortunately, which we haven't got on the run sheet, but let's just crack this can of worms open a little bit. Is our season done? Is this it? I mean, are we really going to go through the Hawks, go through United, Taipans? I mean, they're sitting there throwing haymakers at the moment. They've got their backs up against the wall, nothing to lose, just sitting there throwing away and seeing what happened. I mean, and look, fair enough. You've got nothing to lose. Why not just go out there, absolutely throw it all on the court? We had a great discussion about that on Beyond the Buzzer, and I think a really good point was made that, okay, the season might be done, but now it's about, really trying to show players that, it's worth buying into the team again for next season and the likes.
Yep.
But when you've got nothing to lose, you also sometimes become the greatest risk. So where we have gone 50-50 with the Taipans, depending on how we go these next 2 games, it could be that this is 3 straight losses and our season is well and truly over. We need, I think, 2 wins to potentially get us back into 6. I'm terrible with working the ladder out without using that predictor. And I don't know whether or not then that's reliant on anyone else slipping or,
It would be.
Or what. But is the season done, mate? What do you reckon? What's your heart of hearts tell you?
Look, I think we're in a really good, not a really good position. I think there is a universe where we win 2 of the last 3 games. I think we're a chance to beat the Hawks, and I think we're a chance to beat the Taipans, purely because it's the last game of the season for the Taipans, and they're probably got their eye on the Bacardi Breezes up there at the what's the pub in Cairns called? There's one pub in Cairns. I've been there once. I hope their eye on the cocktails up there in the tropics. So we could potentially steal that. I don't know if 2 is going to be enough. Adelaide are on a run at the moment, and they're just beating everyone who they play against. So it's really dependent on them, falling off the cart. If it is 3 games, we've had a great run. We're coming off a championship season. We've been in 2 championship series in 3 years. Look, if this year ends early, it's not the end of the world. What I would want to see is that we don't go away from JackJumpers basketball. I want us to be making it difficult for everyone we come across.
Yes.
Just because we're out doesn't mean we can't have influence over the final 6. Let's everyone we go about needs to drop us. We go against needs to drop a spot. I think.
Let's be the nasty little bastards we're named after.
The nasty little bastards, 100%. And the last one I would say is let's keep selling out My State Bank Arena. Let's not be fair weather supporters. Let's keep rocking up. Let's keep the energy up in that stadium. Let's keep the clackers clacking. And let's keep our identity, which we've built over the last 4 years. That's what I want to see.
Absolutely. And let's also hope and pray that some of the rumours, which Roth has quickly shut down in the presses, but the rumours still keep persisting, that the big man will make another appearance. Now, I'm in 2 frames of mind here. If he can come on and he's the reason we can clean up 3 final games and make it into the playoffs, I'm all for it. But if he's not quite ready and there is a risk that he's going to blow himself out again, I think I'd rather see him just, okay, that's our season done. Let's get him nice and fit, healthy and ready to rock and roll. Probably no NBL 1, please. And get Mags ready for next season.
Yeah.
But let's see where that goes. All right, well, as we like to do, we like to finish off with the antics and talk about what's going on around the community and more. And, of course, we've got our McVeigh watch. And I thought it was really great that McVeigh jumped onto the JackJumpers fan, what do I call it? Fan hub. Forget the names of things. And I thought his video this week was really quite important. Yes, we're on the back of losses, and I think what he was talking about how to deal with the failure and how the team is not giving up and you learn from your failures and that was really timely and potent. It was important. It had a real great message, and if you haven't seen it, please sign up to the Fan Hub. It's great. There's a lot of, I love it just before a game starts. You get a quick message to say there's a new video, and it's the boys out the back doing whatever, or you might go and they'll take you like behind the scenes, usually JC having some dinner or something like that. It's just nice to be closer to the team.
I watched Milton Doyle go to the movies and see Sonic the Hedgehog 3 the other day.
Yes. And then head down and have a little bit of Italian with his family, which was very nice.
That's right. Yep.
I've said it from day dot. It's something I really love about our team is the fact that it feels like you are part of the team and that there's just one massive, huge family, which is awesome. But let's not hold back on what Mr. McVeigh's been doing over there. So what have the last couple of games been like, my man?
Yeah, so me and Jez covered his stinker he had a couple of weeks ago. He came back with 2 points. He's bounced back a bit. He had a game down in Mexico City against the Capitanes. He had 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists, which is a pretty solid sort of performance without being spectacular. The next one is the one to watch for Jack. I think he might explode against I don't even know how you say this, but I think it's the Sioux Falls Skyforce on the 1st of Feb. SIOUX. If anyone knows how that's pronounced and they want to give me a lesson in English, I'd love to hear it. Please write in.
Absolutely. And speaking of writing in, do make sure that if you have any comments, questions, anything at all, particularly as the season's wrapping up and we're looking at what we're going to be doing in our off-season shows, please reach out to the Basketball Fix, post on social media, put comments in. Wherever you see our post, please comment. And of course, if all else fails, even old school email to the Basketball Fix will get through to us as well. Make sure you are following all our social media posts and whatnot and subscribing and liking. It means a lot. It also helps that as you subscribe and like the podcast, whether it be on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, what it does is it helps the algorithm actually organically put us in front of other people who might be interested. So we can only do so much. It really does help if we also let the algorithms do a bit. And look, we're just fans of the Jackies who are talking about the Jackies. So the more people who can hear this, the better it is. And of course, the more we can celebrate our boys and the wonderful work they're doing. Well, JD, as much as it hasn't been the most celebratory week, it is still good that Tassie is still hitting home runs in the sports that we love. Well, you love cricket. Me, I'll tolerate it, I suppose. And most importantly, it doesn't matter what code it is. It looks like we're all out there defending the island, which is fantastic.
100%.
That's it for us. Have a good one. Make sure you tune in and enjoy the games. Bye for now.
Go Hurricanes. Go Jackies.